Welcome to Dynamic Occupational Therapy YouTube page. Thank you so much for coming. So the past 2 weeks, we've been covering something called fine motor progression skills, and it has been going really well. We are grateful for all those who signed in. We are grateful for all those who have subscribed. We are grateful for even for comments. Thank you, Naomi, for saying that you really like it. It's new, it's fresh, and you look forward to the things we're going to discuss in the YouTube page. Thank you so much. So for anyone who hasn't subscribed as yet, please click the subscribe button and you learn. Let's learn together. Let's walk in this journey together. And also feel free to comment about the videos and then we shall always get back to you. So today we're going to cover something interesting. We're going to cover wrist stability and fine motor movement. So the past 2 weeks we covered the shoulder stability, that where we said we need our shoulders to be stable so that we can be able to stabilize our elbow, and we need to have elbow and forearm rotation so that we can have our wrist stable. Then we have our fine motor movements. So let's focus today on the wrist stability and fine motor movement. So I've combined two. So then now we'll be able to conclude with this one. In terms of fine motor progression skills, there are 4. So then we're going to cover 2. So what is wrist stability? So wrist stability is where how you place your wrist even when you're doing any fine motor activity. For example, let's picture hammering. If you're hammering, you find that your wrist has to be stable for you to do the hammering activity, and then now we have that movement. So then if there's any challenge, as we said in the past 2 videos, there are 4 things that can actually affect your wrist stability or even just movement from your arms. We find there's low tone. Any child with low tone or any individual with low tone, even adults can have low tone, can actually affect and will affect how your fine motor skills are. So we have the low tone, we have sensory challenges, we have how, if there's any neuromuscular disorder the child might have, or even the adolescents or even the adult might have, it actually affects your fine motor skills. So we find that those are 3 things that we find that can actually affect your fine motor skills. So as we narrow in today on wrist stability and fine motor movements, I want us to think about the child or the student, as I mentioned last time, who has low tone. So how does low tone affect wrist stability? So we see that when a student has low tone, we find that when one is supposed to write, the wrist is either we have it straight or it is slightly bent backwards. So if someone has low tone, you'll find that this bending backwards can be a challenge. And you find this is one posture, even if you just try right now, put your hand down to write, you'll notice there's that slight bending of the wrist backwards. So you find that if the hand is slightly bent backwards, and the child has low tone, they will find this one very hard. They will find bending their hand backwards really hard. So it is important for us to know and understand. So when we give a child who has low tone a writing activity, when they say they find it hard or they get tired, it's because that movement requires a bit of muscle strength. So if the muscle strength is not there, the child would actually struggle to have their hand like that. So we find that an activity such as writing, if the child has a low tone, they will find it very hard to hold their wrist like that, to have that bend on the wrist, or putting their arms straight, their wrist straight like that. It can be like that, straight like that. It can be very hard. So for a student with low tone, so you can imagine that is just low tone. We haven't covered anything about the high tone. We haven't covered about sensory challenges. We haven't covered about neuromuscular disorders. So I find that if any of these 3 things affects the child, they will find it very hard to write. So we just focus on this student who has low tone. You find that when they have the low tone, they will have a problem with, even when we now come now to the fine motor skills, we look at these muscles, their muscles will have low tone even for the hands. So if the body has low tone, then the hand will also have low tone. So if the child has low tone on the hand, you'll find that they will find it very hard to do the activities, and they will get tired quite easily. So we find that low tone affects not only the shoulder, not only the elbow, it also affects the wrist and the fingers of the hand. So what is the solution? We found that now if the child has a progression challenge, we are starting from up there, shoulder stability, there's a problem. Then we come to the elbow and forearm, there's a problem. and we come to the wrist, there's a problem, and now it boils down to the fingers, where the fingers have a problem. So what can we do about it? So it is highly recommended that for such a person or for such a student, they need to participate in exercises that will be able to develop shoulder stability. The activities will be able to develop elbow and forearm rotation, activities that will be able to encourage wrist stability, and activities that will increase the speed, how they are able to write, and increase the speed of their fingers and hands. So we find that it is important for these children to engage in such activities, because you find that when you place them now to write, when you place them to paint, when you place them to do craft work, they will really struggle to do these activities. So I would recommend that it is best for that an occupational therapy assesses these children, get to see what is actually causing this challenge. Is it a sensory challenge? Is it a fine? Is it a tone challenge? Is it the tone is high or the tone is low? Or is there any neuromuscular disorder? So if the therapist is able to identify what is the cause, they will be able to now find solutions and activities that they will be able to give these children to participate in, and they'll be able to just do their fine motor skills in a nice way. So in conclusion, that's how I'd close the fine motor skills progression, is that we have to look at all the areas where the child is having the challenge in terms of fine motor. And fine motor has that great progression, 4 steps that we have: shoulder stability, wrist and elbow and forearm rotation, wrist stability, then we now come to fine motor movements. Thank you so much for your time, taking the time to go through our YouTube page, taking the time to even watch this video. Share as much as possible, share with teachers, share with parents, share with even professionals who are able to now help these children to develop their fine motor skills. Thank you everyone, and have a lovely day.